value in the document, in any way. So I'm just going to give some people just some ability to engage a bit more and help me if possible. Joy, welcome. I could actually make you a co-host as well. And yep, so let's leave it at that. So if any of you, Tamiru, I'm going to mute you for now. So we're going to just put you all on mute so that you are just not going to interfere with it until we open up. Meanwhile, if you need to talk, just use that on the chat. Okay, so as I said, getting into Jibu is a challenge, and we appreciate that challenge. But once you get in, you need to be able to navigate in. And as I said, the biggest problem getting in is just being patient. So just click on join and just give it a few moments, maybe a minute or two. Just go looking away until you come back, and then you'll see that you get into the course. Once you get in, usually on a laptop, it should not be challenging. If you want to get it on the mobile, please contact Brenda, and she'll try and give you some navigation through that as well. And maybe on the next occasion, we'll see if we can share what the mobile looks like so that you can navigate and see how to get around this. So the first page has basically got all this material there. You basically want to get into the course. Let me just see. You've got the course here, and then you've got module 1. You just click on it. It's module 2 and then module 3. So let's go today, and you can see the green tick is showing where I have gotten it to. You can do a preview and a normal. I haven't tried the preview, but that probably gives you just high-level thing where you're not really interactive. I'm not sure what it looks like, but here you are now looking, and I'm hoping you all can see what's on my computer. This is module 3. I can exit it at the top here. I can click on this and see the modules perhaps, or just see the sort of opportunity to get through different modules, but that's maybe not something I really want to look at. So I want to get down here. So it says click start here to click. That's where you must click. Okay, so let's click on that. And there's nothing else that really shows. And then there's a start button here, which says now it's module 3 leadership in health. A little bit of other stuff, really not much help. Maybe you can go to the Twitter Facebook and the like, but the next step is to click on start here. Okay. And once you start there, then you are on the sort of on a roll. So you can see there are 3 of 206 pages. We're going to have to skip through a lot of them because I'm not going to go through 206 pages. So you're going to get through just key elements of the module and highlight it, probably more or less what we've done anyway. But the way you navigate this is to press next, and it will take you to the next, which is what we're going to do. Quickly talk about the concepts and styles and practice of leadership. The first unit, the characteristics of an effective leadership or leader. Change management, which is an important concept in leadership, and leadership practice. So you click next, that's what the content is about. And then it basically is kind of the reverse in terms of what the outcomes is that you'll be able to function. Now, if I want to move along far quicker, I can go to, click on this. I hope you're seeing it. If I click on that little arrow at the bottom there, and I'm hoping you can see what I'm looking at. Brenda, do you all see the introduction? The sort of lists come up. A list comes up. I'm clicking on unit objectives, and now it pops up. So basically, this is about concepts of leadership, styles of leadership, and the level 5 hierarchy of leadership. Now, I've done this in other places, and I have had a quick look in it. And leadership has got a lot of different theories out there. To be honest, that's a big question. These theories are in a way just ideas, ways in which people actually think through how do people become leaders, and let me just go back to it and give you an example. Some people might say, well, it's a great man. Nelson Mandela was just a great man. That's who he was. That's why he is a leader. But not every leader is a great man. So what is it? Well, some people have a trait. They have the ability. Somehow they do that. Where does that ability come from? Is it coming from around their context, genes? What does it mean? So there's a lot of these different types of leadership, and they don't always speak to where leadership comes from, but the way in which people who with leadership operate. Sometimes, their leadership can be more about how do they do things, manage the day-to-day things and still stick up, or how can they change the circumstances. Leadership is not always about trying to do major things. Many of us are leaders in our own small run-of-the-mill, but we step up above other people. And so there's different types of theories. And I think that, I'm not going to go through it, but I think it's worthwhile looking at some of the readings and to try and figure out some of these ideas behind it. More importantly is that you should be, I think, have some simple things. And that is basically that what is being a leader, that you're able to influence and inspire groups. So it's not just about you sticking up and making yourself look good. It's about making sure that others look at you and feel good. And sometimes those two don't match. So you wanna help organizations achieve their goals. If you want to inspire a group, you want to influence a group, it might be for goals of the organization or a common goal. You're not an organization, but you want to do it. You might even want to, build yourself up in some ways because you have a vision and you want to see that vision happening and you want to, affect that vision. And I think that is basically the kinds of things that might get you to be a leader and perhaps exercising leadership ability. So most of the problem is many people think that I can learn how to be a leader, and it is true. You can. It's not like as though you need to be someone that is born a leader. I can tell you as an example. When I was in high school, a girl came up to me in high school. Now, this is very embarrassing. I shouldn't be sharing this. But a girl came up to me in my literally end of high school. She says, "Why do you not talk to girls?" And I was too shy to even respond. So you know how shy I was. It doesn't matter that you are shy or that you feel I can't quite do this. It comes with a little bit of expertise. In other words, and when I say, when you use this 80% expertise and know-how, I'd say knowledge and doing. That's probably what I would use that as, because expertise, knowing all this theory is really a small part of it. Doing is how you become a leader, how you learn leadership itself. It's not by sitting in front of a book and reading and saying, "Oh, I know all this, I should be a leader." It doesn't work like that. Yeah, you might have some really, useful thinking around yourself, and that should be how you think as a person. Whether you're a leader or you intend to be a leader or not, you should be thinking forward. You should be honest. You should be adaptable. These are things that are good for anybody, and they're especially good for a leader. Self-confidence, a sense of humor, ability to listen. Self-confidence, you don't need to talk up front, but being confident of who you are, knowing who you are, and sometimes having a sense of humor. And I don't think necessarily to be a laugh for everybody, but being able to listen and understand people is really probably the better one, the more important one. Not all major leaders are sort of the kind of leader that you think of at high school. These leaders are not the kind that crack up everybody at every time. They're not social leaders. You don't need to be a leader in your sort of community social setting always, but you can be a leader in an organization, in a community broadly, etc. So there are lots of these qualities of leadership, which is there. And I think I'm going to be swimming because of my difficulty of trying to swing it, quietly. I think it's action, don't talk, do. It's being flexible, I think what we mentioned earlier. Let's go to the others. It's, in fact, I think, let's perhaps go. And many of the problems that come around is people think that being in management necessarily means that you become a leader. Many managers are good managers, but they can be very bad leaders. And that's because, and sometimes good leaders can be very bad managers. And that's actually not a good leadership skill. So for a good leader, you need to be both a good manager and a good leader, but you should not be hung up on management. And that's an important idea, that you are able to as a leader, delegate. Allow other people to, in fact, deal with the detail. And that's usually the big problem with managers who want to be leaders, is they get too, especially when they have expert knowledge of a particular area, they think they know better, and they usually do. And they want to do it themselves, or they expect to be done exactly how they would do it. And it doesn't work like that. People come with their own skills and abilities. And so good leaders would be good managers because they know how to direct and give guidance to their team, but they themselves are willing to let people do their own thing and learn by mistakes, but give them space and give them guidance when they need it. So it's a very person-focused leader that achieves things, because managers, if you're stuck in the management style, you can do a very bad job. And usually you're working as a leader, and managers should be with a team. So I'm going to try and avoid going into all of this because I'm struggling, because we're going to struggle with time. Lots of this is just reading and understanding. I mean, just in concept, it's about people focused to listening. And I think as persons in primary health care, family doctors, family nurses, we actually get taught this. Listen to patients, understand what they mean, what they say. We're already, as primary health care practitioners, person-focused, patient-focused. And we, in fact, should be doing that. So people focus is really important. But I think that at the same time, people in primary care and us as practitioners, we don't realize we actually do take risks. But we take risks, in fact, in our daily clinical work. Do we decide if this patient needs TB treatment or not, or should be changed on a dose or whatever, or given a particular bit of education? We're thinking about, probabilities. That's risk-taking. But when it gets to other things, we somehow just fall down. We don't like taking risks. We don't like taking a chance, especially when it comes to rules and regulations. And we should be, it doesn't mean that we have to take reckless risks, but we should be willing to try risks out. And that's usually when you are noticed. And hopefully you have a good manager or good lead above you who lets you manage to take that risk and then to learn through that risk. Because there is no way you're going to learn to be a leader if you always keep to the safe. Leadership will only come to you when you take chances. And it starts by you saying to people, and we have the executive coordinating team, and it's a constant harp I make. I say, you're not going to learn or benefit anything if you're not willing to say to me, I'm willing to try something, I'm willing to do something. I'm not there to try and punish you, but I'm there to see, okay, try it. Here's how I would guide you. Try it. If it works, good. If it doesn't work, good, because you've learned why it doesn't work. And I'm here to help you to understand that. And that's exactly how any manager, leader needs to look at his particular ability, at his subordinates and the way he leads. So I'm not going to go through videos. You guys are going to do that. You've got these, as I say, different styles of leadership, transactional as transformational. You can read through them because they just speak to different places they might happen, different ways they might happen. And I think they just kind of just add some value. But those initial comments to me are probably much more important. You obviously want to transform as a leader. That's what you want to do. You want to make big changes. You want to be able to achieve things. So transformational leadership is, in fact, where you need to go to. I'm wondering whether I should just switch off the video, and not share and just talk to you, because me flicking through this video might not be very helpful for you, and you not listening, you're trying to read. So let me stop sharing. I'm still going to go through the slides, but I'm going to talk to the issues, and I hope you'll be paying more attention to what I talk to rather than what I'm flicking through. All the material is there, so you just go into this and you'll find it. So I'm not going to go through these different models. Again, they just come up with ways in which you can try to think it through, of how to become a transformational leadership. They've got, YouTube videos to try and listen and look at them very carefully. Look at them and understand how they do it. Sorry. So in terms of situational leadership, perhaps I can just add, that your ability to your leadership changes in different situations. So for example, if you've got people where you are basically having, and I mean it's a kind of how much of support I give and how much of direction I give. If you are in a space where you've got low support ability and you've got low directing ability, you can be doing things like delegating. You don't have as much control. You have people who are relatively strong that you can do it. But if you are in a very strong environment where you've got ability, you need to direct people closely, and you've got the highly supportive behavior that you can do it. You might call it coaching, where you can be more hands-on. And so that's where it is. And I think that's just the idea of, well, does your situation allow you to do more support or directing? So let's just leave it at that. You can go through it and more deal with the details of it. Now, I'm hoping that as we're going through this, we will find ways that you kind of reflect yourselves, all of you, today as well. Where do I find some of these ideas popping up in my own setting, and what worked for me and what didn't? And when we are having the group discussion shortly, you'll sort of say, yeah, actually, that situational leadership idea, it kind of worked for me like this. And share your own experience with leadership and how these ideas, in fact, helped you or part of your learning. Now, many times people look at leadership and think that it is about competence. But there's another element as well, which is commitment. It's kind of what I said, if you're not willing to put yourself in it, if you always say, oh, but I don't really believe in myself, I'm not sure about myself, you're never really going to get there. So competence is not everything. You might always be thinking, oh, I need to get more information. It doesn't work like that. You need to say, I need to be committed. I need to feel confident enough to take that step and take that chance, get in there, and then do it. Now, here's something worthwhile pointing out. Is a nice book by Jim Collins, in a book that I read, Good to Great, where he talked about really some companies in the stock exchange US that talked about why do certain people really become exceptional leaders. They're great leaders, they're not good leaders. And these people basically took companies and really achieved some greater things. And what they basically showed is that it is people who are having all the abilities of managers and other leadership abilities, but that they are basically that they have the ability to think through all the characteristics of leadership at once, and they're able to manage themselves at all levels. So whether they're functioning at a very junior managerial level, they can function at that level, or whether they're thinking at a strategic level, they can function at that level. So it means that you as a manager should be looking at ways in which you're competent at different kinds of levels of leadership, which is as a highly capable individual. So you've got to look at your own ability. Do I have skills? Do I work well in myself? Secondly, do I contribute as a team member, which is really about the team membership? Can I work in teams? Do I know what teams mean and how to function within teams? And teams is another whole thing, which I'm not sure that we have in another module, but it's really worthwhile looking at. How do you think through teamwork and how you manage yourself in the team? The third one is that, are you a manager? Can you deal with the sort of managerial task, which is not about leadership, but being able to do all the sort of reporting stuff, the high level stuff, the sort of putting together proposals, the things that usually providers struggle to deal with. Oh, that's too hard. They've got to be able to do that. The leadership, fourth, is effective leader, which is all these abilities. But the executive, to me, is the person who's able to function at all of these, but think at a much more strategic level. And often they have a big picture thinking. And that's what you need to be able to be, is having a really good sense of the bigger picture. And when you get into organizations like AfroPHC, you have the ability to think out of your box, to think beyond your small situation, to meet people who are not the same as you, professionally, context-wise, in so many different ways, language-wise, that thinking actually stirs you up. It kind of grates you sometimes, but it challenges you. And then when you're looking at some of the conversations in the AfroPHC, you'll see it's really high. And some people may say, that's too much for me. Well, actually, it's not. What we're talking about in AfroPHC is stuff that matters to every primary health care provider across the continent. So you need to be very strongly engaged in the conversations. Don't just think, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to bother about the rest of AfroPHC because I'm going to get to be a great leader by studying this course and then saying, Amaref gave me this piece of paper. Well, he ain't going to cut it. That's not really what's going to get you to be a leader. It's taking it and using it within the AfroPHC, all the different bits and pieces of the AfroPHC. That's where you're going to become the true leader. And I can tell you now, we have set up the AfroPHC executive coordination team, and it's a great space. And I would strongly urge any of you to email me to say, well, I'd like to be practicing as a leader, and I'd like to be as a young person, and we especially want young people who've already tried leadership in different places. So we'll need your CV. And you send me an email saying, listen, I have been working in different places. I've tried in small places, but now I want to come big. And we will then encourage you to join it. But if you have not done anything at all, don't come to me. Go start doing something small in your area, in your district, in your hospital, in your community, in your country. But do something and then show me what you've done as a CV goes, saying, I've tried, I've achieved. Can I come and try and think a little bit bigger? I'm willing to take risks and do stuff. So I think there's a lot on the level 5, leadership ability, but I hope that what we've talked now is fine enough. I'm going to go through to the next module, because really we're going to battle to get through everything. So the next module is basically characteristics of effective leadership. And again, there we're going to just quickly, briefly go through this. It's really, again, high-level thinking. Sorry, I should have actually thought this was coming. Okay, so you'll get an assignment in which you try to look at finding biographies and actually thinking through some of the people and what really makes them exceptional. We hope you'll do that. And then looking at the real problem, which is how do you get mastery? In other words, that's really, if you're looking at how do I become a leader, it's usually about knowing yourself better. And knowing yourself better is not so easy. I mean, if I have to ask any of you, have you got an idea of what your lifetime goal is? Have any of you got a piece of paper that's written down which says, when I am 65 or on my deathbed, what do I want to have achieved in my life? And hopefully in different parts of your life, not just professionally, but academically, perhaps in your spiritual life, in your family life, in your health, etc. What do you want to feel I've achieved in your recreation, etc., etc.? If you haven't done that, start doing that. Even if it is not clear, write down something. When I'm dying, I want to say I've achieved. Then sit back and say, okay, in the next 5 to 10 years of that dying wish, what do I want to try now? And in that 5 to 10 year plan, you can say, okay, these are priority, and you should then put them down. And then in those different sections, and then you should sit and say annually, what are my steps taken, and maybe quarterly or annually, depending on whether you're doing a course like this or a master's or something, you might bring it down to even quarterly, monthly. But otherwise, every year, sit down and ask yourself. And a useful thing to do is every month is go back and say, well, have I achieved? Why haven't I taken my goal on this month, on my vision, to go to the next the next year? So like that, you'll try and do that. And usually that is what brings you closer to a sort of full work-life balance, and the fact that you are much more in touch with yourself and other people, because you've thought through the big picture. And that big picture is yourself. So get through in your life. And sometimes values are just as important as I want to achieve things. You don't always, vision and mission is important for any organization like you. You might think that through what my purpose is, but you must also say, what values do I want to stick? Do I want to cheat no matter what? Do I want to stick to, do I want to break a rule here or not? Or how do I want to go about this in terms of value? Especially in places where you feel you may lose your values. And that's something to hang on to. It's a good sense of who you are, and that's something that you should be sticking to. And if you think that you may see that challenge, you should be aware that I will have these problems in my reality when I go to sort of pursue an academic course, an academic career, that this may happen. If I start in the private, I may be sort of forced to start cheating, in terms of what I do, or overpricing, etc., etc. So you should be aware that, listen, I may be coming across ethical challenges in various places, even corruption within a practice, or let's say a management hierarchy. You may find yourself doing that. A lot of the awareness of ourselves is also about our emotions. Many of the time, we have two parts of ourselves. One is our thinking part, and we are very much, think sometimes we're in touch with that. Some of us have a very strong emotional part, an emotional sense of ourselves. And we're all not strongly balanced. Some of us tend to one side or the other, and you can find ways in which you can understand yourself better using some tools that we can share later. But it's important that you don't always deal with people in a rational way. Deal with people as people with both their thinking and their emotions. So empathizing, understanding, listening to emotional content is part of how we should deal with people as patients go, but also the people of our team, our managers, even our boss above. You might be able to manage your boss better through having better, emotional intelligence. And that's really what you need to get to. So we're not going to do too much on this. So let me see how I can skip through and just pick on another. I mean, you have to think through these yourself. And it is just about you thinking through in all your circumstance, your personal family context, your social community, and your work as well. How do I relate to people? Am I a thinking, feeling person, or am I, what's the ENTJ, that type of thing? That model. What is the model called? Somebody may assist me in the chat. That allows you to analyze how you tend to relate. You might look at that online and in fact get a sense of yourself, to be able to pick out how you deal with people and how others actually you might see them dealing with you. Obviously, being part of having social emotional intelligence comes with communicating that well, being able to listen, and then finding ways in which you can work in teams. And I think that basically is most of the tips that you are doing. There are some important sort of tips, like what do you mean, and being clear about what the verbal and the non-verbal communication that's coming through in your communication. Now I'm going to stop here because I think this is plenty of what we've done, of what we can provide you in terms of information. I think that I will just go through to unit objectives 3 and 4 and just talk to briefly so that we can end it. Concept of change management is really that, and I'm going to be really at high level talking to this, that really people don't always want to change, even if you want that change. So in some ways, you've got to look at the terrain around you. You've got to be able to make an assessment of who where people stand in terms of willingness to change. I haven't seen, but I think there are some tools to try and judge the way in which people might, you might assess people in terms of change ability. Some people may feel, no, I'm willing to change. And how do you get that? Is by talking, sometimes individually, and sometimes, collectively, to understand how do people feel about a particular thing. But as you are engaging in that process of consultation, you need to be able to find ways in which you can take the majority with you. It might come with the way in which you rearrange people, reorganize, train, and develop them. But many a time, it also comes with being able to say, how do you get a coalition of people who will move with your change? And usually they should be representing or key people within the majority that you say, I think I will get them on my side. But try and have that representing the majority and to swing the majority and not worry about the small minority. And sometimes you might be able to in fact, narrow them, those who are obstructing, and sometimes be able to achieve things like, besides shifting the process slowly over to your side, is to create quick wins. So sometimes, besides the slow change, quick wins, narrowing the others, creating urgency about it. These are some of the steps in change management that are brought forward. So we are not going to talk at length. There's a whole lot of material, really useful stuff in the module that I think you'll find really good. So I think apart from that, the last one is really just practice. And I think there I'm going to leave it, because I think that there are plenty of people here in the meeting itself who got practice to share. And that's where we're going to go to now. So I'm going to say, let's break up into groups. We have... Oh boy. And in a way, let's see if we can get you to share thoughts amongst yourselves. So we've got about 65 participants, and I'm going to ask those who are who feel that they wouldn't mind facilitating the group. If you can, please put your hands up, and I can just label you so that we can make sure that you are in a group on your own. So if you can just put your hand up, and I can just make you co-host. Any of you who feel I don't mind sharing my expertise and I've been through the course, please feel free to put your hands up. I mean, even if you've got some experience in leadership, the course is not necessarily the only way you learn. Anybody? Wonderful. Mercy, thank you. You're already there. Joy, I'm sure, will be there. Malebo, wonderful. Thank you. It's just a facilitation, so you can facilitate, and I think I'm sure there'll be plenty of other people. Anybody else who would like to do that? I think we've got Mercy, we've got Malebo. Anybody else? I need just about 3 or 4 people more that would be willing. Joy, that's fine. Joy, I've got you already, so I'll include you there. Anybody else? Let's take another 3 or 4 people, and I think anybody else? Yeah, thank you, Ravia. Really appreciate that. It's just helping the group functioning. Good. I'll lower your hand. Anybody else? Just 2 more, I think. 65. Yeah, we can have a group of 10 each, and that's manageable. Anybody? 1, 2, 1, 2. Anybody else? Okay. Right, well, let's give it a go, and we'll break up into groups. The group is basically, please just see if you can talk in the group. It's really just to reflect on the issues raised. So hopefully some of you have read, and that you have got some of that knowledge from there, so you can bring some of that knowledge to bear. Others, if you can, just start with the question, have we got any experience, knowledge to share about leadership? And the second question, or even the first question, could be, have we got any experience to share about leadership? Things that worked, things that didn't. Shaibu, thank you very much. Let me just quickly add you so that I don't lose you. Thank you. Good. So we'll just break you up into groups and you can then have a discussion and around that, and we'll come back in about 40 minutes. That will give us at 1:30, and that will give you plenty of time to share some thoughts, and then you could just share some of your thinking briefly and some highlights that were useful for the group. Okay, so good. Let me just make sure I have, oh boy. Okay, I'm going to have to just quickly name people because it's not showing up here. Give me 1 sec. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to have to just try and name everyone so that we can I can see it. Before we go. Almost done. Okay, I've got Singh here in the first group, Joy, Mercy, Maple, so I'm just trying to rearrange the groups so that there's somebody in each group. Okay, we're good to go. I think we have one person at least. Shaibu, for some reason, you're not here. Okay, all done, ready to join. So we'll see you at the hour, at 1:30. Hopefully that's good enough time for all of you to have a discussion. El Hadi, you've left, so I can't give you my number. Okay. All right, please discuss. So thanks, Alexandra. I don't know if there's a need for a French group. If anybody feels, let me just put that out there. Anybody still here? If you're struggling, please let Brenda know. Brenda, that's fine.
Yes, Prof. I'm here. Let me see.
You'll just manage anybody.
Yeah, especially for those who are joining, because I can see 3 more people have joined. Let me just assign them.
Yeah,
We
let
are
me
having...
go to this group too. I think they've got nobody there and I've got to see what's going on. So I'll leave you to manage that, right?
Okay, so we are having 6 groups, right? All right. For those who have not yet joined the group, please click on the link that pop-ups on your screen. Join a discussion group. Someone, let me just share with you the link forum 6. Please join forum 6. So Lua, let me join you to group 4. Please join. There'll be a pop-up message on your screen. Please click to join. And I'm assigning you to group 3. Please click on the pop-up message to join the group. Tadese, I'm joining you to group 5. Click on the pop-up message on your screen. Ahmed, I'm assigning you to group 6. Click on the pop-up message that comes on your screen. Alice, Dr. Steve, are you able to join a group or you're still having challenges? Please join a discussion forum. Alice, are you having challenges? He said, Lua, let me join you to group 4. Click on the pop-up message on your screen. Helen, Lydia, Alice, Augustine, please join specific group that you've been assigned to. Join the discussion on the groups. Dr. Steve, Kristen, Lydia, Raphael, if you're having challenges, please let us know. Or Raphael is requesting for a French group. I just hold on. Let me see. Virtuosa in group 3, it's okay, you can still join. Lillian, hello. We have joined discussion breakup groups. So I'm going to assign you to group 4. Please click on the pop-up message to join a discussion group so that you can follow up with the discussion. There will be a pop-up message on your screen. Please click to join a discussion group. Hello, Godfrey. Welcome to this session. Your colleagues are in a breakout room, so I'm going to join you to one of the breakout rooms. So kindly join breakout room 1. And there'll be a pop-up message on your screen. Please click to join and follow the discussions from there. Let me check the chat, see if we have anybody with challenges. Raphael, you wanted to join the French group. Apparently, you're the only one in French. I don't know if I can allocate you an English group. Is that okay? All right. Let me join in an English group. If you can join group 5. I'm hoping you'll be able to catch up with the conversation. Because since you're alone on the French, it will be very hard to have a discussion on your own. So please click the pop-up message to join group 5. Raphael, let me know if you are able to join. They can still see you're still on the main channel. Okay, great. She has joined successfully. All right. Lydia Mwale. Lydia Mwale, are you having challenges joining the breakout groups? Alice Alupo, are you having challenges joining the breakout rooms? Augustine, Dr. Steve Kabamba, Mr. S. Lindani, please click on the pop-up message to join the breakout rooms to continue the conversation. You can also let us via chat if you're having any challenges. Hello, Prosper and Miriam. Welcome to this session, but the rest of your colleagues are in the breakout rooms. So I'm going to join you with either of the breakout rooms. Kindly join so that you can catch up with the discussions. They'll be done in the next 10 minutes. You'll be able to join back the session after then. So Prosper, I'm joining you to group 1. Please, on your screen, click the pop-up message, and then it will allow you to join. Same with Miriam. I've joined you to group 1. Click the pop-up message on your screen to join the group. Same with you, Miriam. Please click the pop-up message on your screen to join breakout room 1 so that you can join your colleagues with the conversation and discussions. Great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm sure that we're going to get most of everybody back shortly. And sorry, we'll have to close the rooms. So sorry, Raphael. We are closed now. So everybody's back. I think we hopefully get everybody in the room and then we can continue. So let's see how people have progressed. We had 6 rooms and I'm going to just see if we can. Is it Bristol Myers? Yeah, BMI. That's what. Thanks, Mugabo. Mugabo is in fact going to share the group's ideas just now. Mugabo, please, from group, was it 1, I think, that I joined? Malebo as well. So Malebo is ready to present. So let's start with Malebo. Malebo, go ahead.
Thanks, Prof. So I was in group 4.
Uh-huh.
We had very interesting discussions. I think just top of the list, which was quite interesting, people indicated that the example of transformational leadership or true leadership that they can explain is that shown by Jesus. So without getting religious, they felt that Jesus showed true transformational leadership, and you know,
absolutely, lots of religious leaders have that characteristic about them.
Yes, and the second point that came out of that was, which was quite interesting as well, was that mentorship should be entrenched within leadership. So the examples as they were coming was, it came out that what was regarded as a good leader was somebody who also had the ability to mentor the new incoming people. Then we took it on and we started discussing challenges of leadership within the healthcare in Africa, and it became very interesting. That the things that came out basically was the lack of resources within the healthcare, which impedes on good leadership. But the key thing that came out was around staffing. So in most instances, it was felt that we don't have enough qualified, appropriately trained people coming on the job, such that they get trained into leadership, or they portray leadership skills within the services. But also the other things that came on was that there's a lot of selfishness that is happening within the healthcare, to a point that people just come in and do their work and walk away without wanting to bring in transformation. As such, we do not have enough mentees to be mentored by the few leaders that are in place. But also the issue that with a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of corruption that is happening, we find that a lot of people are leaving the countries, including good leaders. And as such, it leaves us with a pack of poor leadership or no leadership, and no potential mentors to carry it forward. So that was quite interesting. And also that there are not enough incentives. I guess this talks to selfishness, not enough incentives to promote leadership. But the one thing which was a little bit interesting that one of our guys said in our group was that the leadership positions, there's not enough information about leadership positions. So as such, he only just recently, after having been in the healthcare industry for such a long time, he's only got to learn about leadership positions only now. So I'm not sure whether the information is not going out there to make people, to challenge people to get into those positions. So those were the discussions in our group.
Nice. Interesting. If I may just pick up on some of those points, I think, generally we should be thinking of leadership not just for a position, but in fact trying to be leaders in ourselves, even in our spaces with our current jobs. And you'll be surprised that, like you said, this transformational leadership, religiousness, I have a religious conviction that God will provide if you have the right intentions. So go out there and do good. Don't wait for a position. Do the good. Exhibit the leadership. And suddenly you'll find leadership positions will unfold and present themselves. So if you're a godly person, believe in that, because I believe in it. I think that, you've talked about this question, Malebo, about not enough mentors and not enough mentees. I think that, yes, it's true. We have this difficult situation of culture and people leaving, but I think nobody out there who feels I'm doing good should ever feel lonely. God is with you. But at the same time, you can do good even in itself. I mean, do you think that me sitting here doing AfroPHC is very like I meet you? You are my inspiration because that's who I meet. But I'm sitting in front of my computer. I've never touched any of you. It's a very lonely job in that way. But you have to actually have to stick it in there. You got to believe in yourself that, no, I'm going to make good. I'm going to do something good. God is there to judge me, but I'm going to do this good and let's see what happens. And if you do that, you'll find that there is still opportunity. So in terms of mentoring people, I mean, even though people have this, problematic attitude, don't bite off the whole bunch. It's part of the change management strategy. Take one person, try and build a way in which, around you, in the team you work, where you work, just look at the few that you want to try and change and create a culture of change, very small. So don't try to change the entire organization. So in some ways, some of these, what you might see as are challenges, which are very common across the whole of Africa. You're absolutely right. But I think for you personally, you need to see it as opportunity rather than a challenge. So anyway, it's just some thoughts for you all as a group. Thank you very much.
Prof. First, can
Lovely
I say
feedback.
Yes,
go ahead.
I think you've got it so right, and that was the sense that I got, that
Good.
This is where, as this group, we need to be self-aware of our strengths and as it is, but also be willing to take the risk. So we cannot stand back and say, "Oh, there's nobody to mentor us, or there's nobody to do this." We should go out and like you say, do the change within our environment and hope that it will have a ripple effect and spread out. And take that risk.
Definitely I can tell you now that just us in AfroPHC meeting as robustly as we have, we are creating ripple effects globally. Do you believe that? You are, and not because of me, because of us, because of the number of people and the way in which people are engaging in themselves is really making a huge difference, where many organizations that would not normally give you a chance are actually listening, and they want to hear what you have to say. And I'm getting this from people globally connected. So please do not underestimate your ability to create ripple. You are rippling already. The world is already seeing the ripple of you, and the world is your oyster. I mean, there's some people from the ECT here might just share things, and I'll ask them to do that. What is the possibilities? Enormous. So do not underestimate your ability to make major things happen, not only in Africa, but across the globe. All right. So small things, big effect. Thanks, Malebo. Wonderful stuff. Let's go to the next.
Maybe something.
Yes, go ahead, Joy. Go ahead. You can
on still the mentorship issue, because it's one thing that
go ahead. You can speak.
in our group, and I would like to say, other than just mentorship, where you're looking for someone to mentor you and walk the journey, one can shadow, and if there are opportunities to shadow, take them and work with them.
Shadow, you mean like take on to shadow someone who could be your mentor?
Yes, and Prof, you have been one of my shadows, and I would say part of my leadership skills come from Prof Shabir, being a shadow mentee. Other things one can do is get a coach, and the coach walks you through a journey, and the old traditional mentorship journey where you used to have someone walk with you hand in hand is no longer there in terms of the leadership. Depending on what you're looking for, either get to shadow someone based on what you're looking for in terms of leadership, or get a coach who coaches you through and gives you and helps to harness the skills that you have as a leader.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Joy, I mean, I think just to extend it, it doesn't matter whatever you do, just reach out to people that you think are great leaders and say, how can you help me? You know, how can I learn from you? Might seem a very, you know, as an African person might feel, oh, that's very rude. I'm very upfront or very forward. No, good leaders would be very glad that you come up and admire them. You know, I see you as a wonderful leader. Can you guide me further? And how could you guide me? I personally would strongly urge anyone in the AfroPHC who is feeling I really would like to practice leadership and implement a lot of the skills you're learning here in the AfroPHC. There's an open door for you. Just reach out to me with your CV and we'll talk about you joining the executive coordination team. It really has helped. The few people that have hung in, it's really helped them. And I think there's lots of simple little things that we've used in terms of AfroPHC that is learnable, easy for others to get on. And already I told the ECT after 3 months that I can see at least 2-3 people there becoming the next executive coordinator. They could easily take over my job, which is greatly well done for me. So that's, I think, what we need to move towards. Capable people who can do major things at a very high level, and you can do that. So not all of you need to feel you're under pressure to do that, but I'm just saying the sky's your limit. Thank you very much, Joy. And if you have anything else to add, Joy, from the group, you can feel free. Otherwise, let me move to Shebu. If you have anything to add to what's been said so far, so perhaps we can just add the bits that we think maybe not repeated. We can just mention those.
Exactly what I was going to do.
Good. No, thank you. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah. So yeah.
Just mention what was repeated. Maybe just saying, you know, these issues briefly were repeated, but talk more about the ones that were not. Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, we had issues with network challenge, one of the group, but 3 to 4 people actually contributed by sharing their experience. Well, essentially, the key thing is that a lot of theories on leadership and and that these are actually tools they are not straight jacket that you need to fill into. That leadership situation may need you to use one or the other. The key thing is to learn them. And to know when to use them and to be able to assess situation where a transformational leadership will be appropriate or transactional will be appropriate. And we gave experience of situations where each of us had to use one style or the other and to be able to get success. Essentially, that it is leadership an inborn or it is a learned skill. But whichever argument you want to put forward, knowing the tools is important and knowing how to apply them is also important. And therefore you need to be able to
use the tools.
In together. Thank you.
Thanks, Shebu. Well done. So that's useful. The tools are there and lots of very neat tools. You can use them to navigate yourself and understand yourselves better. Good. Mungabo, go ahead. You can share.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Yes. We'll come to some questions that others have raised. I think they wanted to. Okay, don't fine. Carry on, Mungabo.
So reporting from room 2. Cross-cutting issues were the fact that we shouldn't consider leadership as a platform, but realize that it was about how we ourselves presented ourselves to the organizations that we were with. And it's really about us and trying to do the best that we can. The other cross-cutting issue was appreciating how diverse the modules are and how you can practically use them in your everyday life as you practice being a better leader. We also zoomed in on the very obvious fact that leadership is mostly about people, and different people were just giving testimony and emphasizing this importance. Something that came up was the fact that it's exceedingly important to make sure that we alter our leadership style based on the setting that we're in and the people that we're dealing with. We also say that, when you present to a new environment, a new organization, it's important to take a beat, appreciate the culture, observe the culture, and take advantage of your emotional intelligence to sort of guide you in how you're going to then relate with them. We had a colleague who was very excited about how we can use the Batari box and we reflect on our own attitudes, and we make sure that we realize that we can break the chain of negative attitudes and behaviors by being the adult, being the bigger person, and inserting positive attitudes there, and also using that platform to just help the organization work better. We also emphasize the importance of focusing on outcomes, and in that regard, not being too vertical or too hierarchical, and making sure that our actions speak a lot more louder than our words. In conclusion, we also hyped up change management and its importance. Sun Tzu's Art of War was hyped by Shabir himself. So we've added it to our reading list as well. That's
Please
all.
do. I think Sun Tzu is, a Chinese military leader, but a lot of his reading ideas of how to work with people in the art of war is being incorporated into change management. So in change management, do not think that you have to convince everybody. It's not entirely that. It's about how do you find ways to convince the majority. You'll still have people who don't agree with you. So never expect to be the leader who pleases everyone. But you have to be smart about how do I move the organization as well. But it starts with people, and then working with people and understanding where they are in terms of what you're doing and working with them progressively using all these great tools that are available. Great stuff. Thanks very much, Mungabo. So let's go to Ravia and then Mercy.
Hello everyone. I am very grateful to be here with you, and I thank you for my team for sharing a very fruitful experiences from their real life. For the interest of time, I will go fast.
Just briefly.
Yes, I'll go briefly because most of points are covered in the previous groups. So just and their experiences that we emphasize the importance of communication and knowing your group and group harmony, and how it's important for you as a leader to know your team as a key for success. And in their experiences, we found how the change management is very a tough job, and how to convince the team, as you said in your example minutes ago. So it was a very fruitful experience, and very shared. We shared very points that were covered in this.
Good.
So
wonderful. So I think that's really important. I think the fact that we need to think through the change management issues and the way to progress. So thanks, Ravia. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Good. So let's go through Mercy.
Thank you, Prof. Shabir.
Last one, and then we've got, I think, maybe 1 or 2 questions or comments. Go ahead, Mercy.
For our group, we mostly talked about our experiences and lessons that we drew from them from a leadership perspective. And the things that came up were, one, issues like ethics and morality in leadership. How do you deal with it? 2, your value system. Who are you as a leader? What is it that you believe in, and what do you stand for? 3, the issue of how do you rally people around as a common goal? And how do you build teams from the people who are following you? And I think that also came out very clearly. You're not a leader if nobody is following you. So it's important to have people get behind what you're trying to do. The issue of change management and resistance also came up in terms of how do you work with the people who are willing to support you, and how do you bring them on board? And like you had said, you don't have to have everyone, but you have to have someone. And also yes. Yes, and other issues that came up and were brought up were conflict resolution, especially when you have a culturally diverse group that you're leading. How do you deal with that? We had an example of where we had like 2 racially diverse groups with very 2 different points of view, different positions, station, etc., and that created conflict. So how do you come in and manage that? How do you manage diversity? So those are some of the things that came up. And one of the participants, Danny, asked a question that we're not able to answer in the group, but I said I'll bring it up in plenary. He asked, in Africa, we are having such issues and challenges in leadership? Why is it that we are unable to rise up and lead the right way and actually lead people in a way that advances or causes us to rise rather than to go back down? So he asked, what is the challenge? What do people think is the major challenge, and how can we address it? So that's where room 5, that's what we discussed in room 5.
Wonderful. I think, those are very sort of deep thoughts. And I think one of the things that was echoed by Rawia as well is the question of team and knowing how to function with teams. I'm not sure, maybe Brenda, I'm not sure if Jennifer is in the meeting as well, but there should be something around teams under HR. I think I came across it there. I haven't yet gotten to that detail, but I think that looking at how to function within teams and some of the skills of teamwork are very important. And there are some useful tools that can help you to get there. I think speaking to that very deep question, how do we take forward, how do we deal with the sort of difficulties of Africa? I want to be more, what I might say, optimistic. In my view, I think Africa is actually going places, and modernization, especially, our ability to communicate like we are now. Literally 2-3 years ago, we didn't have this ability to have such a conversation. And that in 2-3 years is major in a continent like us with, more than 1 billion people, 1.5 billion people. We are huge. And for us to be able to have a conversation like this and speak to each other and understand better each other, many, many more things can happen very, very quickly. And I can't imagine that this is already happening within the population, with people who have influence, with, that can change the equation for the leaders in Africa. I think they're feeling the pressure. They're feeling the pressure that is there. And if they are not feeling it, then we need to put it there. And we need to strengthen that pressure. So I'll give you an example, the document that we're busy with, and all of you need to be at the conference next week. That document is speaking very, very relevantly to big gaps in global discourse around human resources. And we have the ability to shift the needle in Africa, especially, but globally even. So do not underestimate the ability for us with good, strong thinking. And you do not need to have millions of people to think. A few people can do a lot of great thinking and can help others to think better as well. So do not underestimate your ability. Like we said, one pebble in a big lake, you can make a big difference. And you just have to trust that, listen, my little pebble is not nothing. And don't throw it into the ocean, into the lake. So believe in yourself. It's the heart of leadership, is believing in yourself and believing in changing things for the better. So I hope that this has been a useful discussion and will inspire the group to you, Mercy, and the group. And feel free to raise any thoughts around it, any other comments from anybody else. Just raise your hands. Did someone not get to speak? It's group 5, Silipwa. Is it... sorry, maybe I've got a little bit of... Anybody who wants to still speak, please feel free to raise your hand, just so that we can have a little bit more organized. I have people unmuting themselves. But if not, you can unmute yourself now if you have any comments to add. But I think this was a lovely sort of discussion on leadership and the way in which we can go. we are going to be more sure that the next time we don't get stuck where I have to do a sort of halfway job. So I'm going to just make sure that our next speakers are really organized and sharing with me their presentations beforehand and not leave it to this point. Danny, go ahead, unmute yourself. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Prof. I think I raised the question in the context of looking at the backdrop of COVID and the consequences that came thereabout when we were caught unaware. The entire world shunned and looked the other way. When I was reading recently a report, I think it was a UN report saying by 2050, more than 95% of the poor people in the world will be in sub-Saharan Africa. When you look at the effects of climate change, the effects of environmental degradation, extractives that are causing a mess all over are predominantly in Africa. We've been, a dumping stock or an extractive point formed by many empires and powers. So my question, and I'm really, really not the romantic bit of it about Africa, and I'm trying to be very honest because we've had so many conversations of Africa rising for the last 10, 15 years.
You're a skeptic.
And I'm asking myself, I'm in Uganda, I'm seeing the politics and how we are regressing, even what we were 10 years ago. And I'm puzzled and asking myself, what is it as leaders that we must have? Is it the intellectual capacity? Is it the emotion beat? Is it the spiritual issue? Is it, what is it that we need to think about deeply as Africans to transform for the next generation of people without really being romantic about Africa rising? Things are changing, but where I'm standing now, things are not as I thought they would be maybe the last 10 years.
I mean, I don't want to be, a Euro optimist who does not even acknowledge the challenges. I agree with you. There are enormous challenges within the environment of Africa, and we should not underestimate it. But we should not slip into being Eurosceptic either. So my own suggestion to you is that we need to ask ourselves what can be done and what should be done, and go for the places where things are being done. I think that, yes, in individual countries and even in South Africa, we are sort of having situations where you just think, oh my God, are we really going to get out of this muck or not? And I can see when you're close to it that you will feel that. But I want to share with you that statistic that you quoted just now, that the in by 2050 that the largest population of poor will be in Africa. Well, let me share another statistic, probably in that same development bank, I think it was, document, that the largest economic middle class block in the world will be in Africa as well, which is not necessarily a good thing, because the truth is that speaks for the economy. We still will have the largest block of poor people, but the opportunity is that we can shift the equation so we use that middle class trajectory to in fact build up the rest. So there's ways in which we can do it, and we have to be thinking about strategic steps that can change that trajectory. And if you ask me, where is the focus? If you're looking at any the solution lies in people as human capital. That's where our solution lies, and that's recognized. In fact, people are expecting the African population will be the most productive in the next 50 to 100 years, largely because we've got young people, which is seen now as a problem, but in 50 to 100 years may not be, because the generational change may show that these people become, in fact, shorter than 50, 100 years, 50 years, that these people will be productive adults. But that's if we make them productive adults and not just poor people who are hanging around the edges of the economy. And if you ask yourself, well, how do you help people actually do that? It's health and education, two big spends in government. So we've got to focus on it. We are taking one half of the big burden to make people become truly capital in Africa. That's health. So you are not anywhere far away from the big change. And even in health, we are in fact able, through the model that we're describing and we're trying to encourage, having an opportunity to even change education within health. Because health systems can actually be more far-reaching in social reach than education systems. So please do not underestimate that you in this space can actually be making a big difference, but we have to do it properly. And Danny, you need to be joining our group so that we can be talking about how to work together to do this, to make it happen. We need to not be skeptical, but at the end of the day, I want to be at least somewhat optimistic. So Danny, I know you're real, and it's good to be real. Yes. No. Good, Mercy. I think you had your hand up.
Yes, Prof.
Closing
Just
remarks.
to speak to leadership, especially with AfroPHC and what we are doing at the ECT, just so that people can see how you can grow if you want to. So I have been with the ECT for about, has it been 6 or 7 months, Prof? But how it started was I had reached a place in my life and in my leadership journey where I was in sort of a funk. I had, as recommended, I had approached a couple of people to shadow them so that I can learn like the things and build capacity in the areas that I was interested in. And, you know, sometimes some people just don't have the bandwidth. So some snubbed me, some just didn't give a response. So I was like, I need to move somewhere. So when Prof. Shabir put out the call and said he needs people to help him run AfroPHC activities, I stepped up amongst other people. And it has been quite a great journey of building a lot of capacity, especially now moving into the policy space, seeing how policy is made, where you begin from building capacity in research, in running meetings, in running webinars, facilitating them. Prof. Shabir gave me the opportunity to run the policy workshops. I have never done anything like that before, but through his guidance and mentorship and leadership and the support of the rest of the team, we have each been able to just step up in different capacities. The CPDs, we have one person running that, another person running research. So all of us have really grown in this journey and have really built capacity in a lot of areas that we did not even know we could do. And it's been quite the learning experience, and I've come to see what mentorship and building capacity looks like, and it's something to appreciate. So what I tell people is just this: don't wait for someone to tell you to do something. As a leader, you are a solution. So offer up yourself as a solution. Where you see a gap, where you see a problem, where you see the opportunity to step up, just step up and do it. If you do not have the skill can always be acquired. You can always learn. But the important thing is to step up and just be willing to serve. And everything flows from there. So thank you.
There you go. The future executive coordinator of AfroPHC. And every one of you can become that. So I want you to encourage you all, please reach out to me. We're going to try and get more people to join it, but you're going to have to be committed, and we're going to have a little bit of a hurdle for you to get in. But it's a great learning opportunity. And it's a place for you to demonstrate leadership. So let's stop there. We're all going to leave you we hope that this has left you with food for thought, encouragement to continue the modules, that you've sorted out your GBU problems, and that you're going to progress to the end of the year to finish this. Please tell anyone who wants to still join it. The recordings are there, and they can still join it up to the end of June. After that, it'll be a bit too tight. So then they can finish it by December. And with that, take care, enjoy, be good and read, and we'll send you some material to help you along the journey. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We wait for the material.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Everything's already on the web page. So you can just go there. The recording is there.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. It's nice to hear all the bye-byes. Thank you. Wonderful. Take care. I'll stop the meeting.